Why don't we start from the beginning?
Okay, yeah. So I just took a shower. It was like 7:45, 8, and my window was open. It was raining pretty hard, and I kept hearing the bleeding of like an animal. You know, wah, wah, what a baby deer sounds like. I kept hearing it for like 10, 15 minutes non-stop. And I came downstairs and I asked my dad, I'm like, do you hear that? And I walked him outside and it was still just repetitive, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, I gotta see what's up. We didn't know we knew it was a baby deer. We didn't know if a bear was attacked. There's a lot of animals out here, so I just threw on some shorts and a pair of shoes and I walked across the street. And probably 30 yards into the woods, walking cautiously, and I see the tail of a fisher cat going like this. And eventually, when it saw me, it scrammed. I grabbed a stick by this point because I'm ready to. Those things are vicious. If they if they get a hold of you, they'll mess you up. So it booked it, and then I walked over, and the little guy was just laying there, like motionless. I think he was in shock, because they're trained not to make noise, I guess.
Yeah, like if they're in danger, they basically kind of almost like play dead. Like they act calm, even if they're like freaking out, basically.
If their heart's pumping.
Yeah, like pretty much exactly how it is.
So I got the little guy, and you could see he got bit on the neck. There was some, it was all red where the thing was trying to, put its neck around it. There's some puncture holes on its top of its head, not like big holes, but just little, fisher cats don't have huge jaws, but we're just trying to maul it. So I picked it up and brought him to the front yard, and it was like pouring rain, and I'm like, what do we do? Like, he was just laying there in shock, like shivering, and so we're trying to call the game wardens, Fish and Wildlife, etc., etc., and the police say they have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and
so,
not the Ashburnham police.
Yeah, we. Oh. I wasn't inside. I was outside with the little guy, and my parents were on the phone trying to. It was all, it's fly of the moment at this point.
With, like, the regular police, though, it's kind of like they aren't trained, like, anything to do with animals, really, unless it's, like, someone's dog and they call animal control. It's kind of, like, more of the Fish and Wildlife kind of thing that they would take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was probably out there for, like, 15 minutes in the rain while they're trying to make phone calls and whatnot, and I could feel him just, shivering really bad. So we brought him to the barn, and I put a towel around him and just was like rubbing. He wasn't still moving at this point. He was just breathing, like probably still in shock from the weather and the animal and stuff. And I took a picture and I was asking for advice from people, and they said call Maggie. So pretty much I just kept it warm and calmed it down, and by the time before she got here, I was starting to like make noise again, like trying to move, and I just kept holding it because I didn't want to get trapped under a car or something and run around, like then we get a real problem. And we found, I'm like talked to her on the phone, and she's like trying to feed it some milk or warm milk, like feeding a baby. So we took some whole milk and put it in. One of my sisters just had a baby and put it in her bottle, and we held the mouth and stuck the bottle in it and get it drink some milk, and because you're trying to make the best of it at this point. And it did drink milk, because it was cool. We got pictures of that, like holding the mouth and the bottle and stuff. So we pretty much just did that and kept it warm, and then she got here and she used power, whatever.
I had some I have like a lot of medicine basically for goats, but it wasn't actually a medicine. It was called Power Punch, but it's basically just like sugar for animals, just to give them a little more energy. It's
not like a formula milk for babies.
No, like I had to use a syringe, and I syringed into his mouth. It's like it's honestly like just like sugar for them, to just so he had more energy.
He was low, like he was.
And then I tried feeding him a little more, and I checked out his wounds, and then he followed me to my house with it. And once we got to my house, we brought it inside. My dad has a secretary, I guess, and we put it in her office because it was a lot warmer in there. I was thinking of having it in the breezeway, but it was too cold. And so we got in there, and at that point he had dried off, and so he wasn't really cold anymore, but he was definitely stressed out by us being around him. But I mean, it was off
You couldn't
like
put him
better
back.
than leaving him out there.
Yeah,
I
everyone's
guess.
saying put him back in the woods, but like I think he come back and get him. He was too weak to put back in that
He couldn't
situation.
stand.
Yeah.
Not because he was injured so much. He's probably like under 2 weeks. He was definitely under 2 weeks old.
Yeah. He had still the umbilical cord showing, and like she was saying when the eyes are blue, it's an indicator if it's under 2 weeks old.
Like after 2 weeks, they turn brown, and so they were still blue. So he was still under 2 weeks. And so we kind of got him situated, and then he went home, and I.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know.
And so I sat out there, and I tried to give it more milk, and I mixed it with colostrum replacer, which because I didn't know the exact age of it, and it couldn't hurt it. And so I tried giving him some of that, and he didn't really want to have much to drink. I mean, I got him to have a little bit, and at that point, I could just tell he was pretty nervous. Like, I could hear his heart beating when I got close to him, and it was beating pretty fast. And I was like, he probably would just be more comfortable if I left him in the room by himself. So I was probably out there for a couple hours with him, probably until like midnight. And then I let him sleep out there by himself, and I went back the following morning, and he was still alive because I wasn't really sure if he was going to make it.
The best. So she brought it here.
10 minutes before I got here, he had called me.
Yeah, I was coming down this hill, and I could see a deer just on the edge of like my eyesight in the wood line, and all I can think of was that the mother was coming back into the area because she could smell the, you know.
And they say that the mothers keep looking for up to 2 weeks after.
That was the biggest thing. Is like I couldn't put it back that night because it was weak, cold,
Just-
and the predator, the fisher cat, could have been. You never know what could have
Right.
got it at that point. So she came like 15 minutes later, and we wrapped it up in a towel, and I walked probably like a quarter to half a mile into the woods. I've hunted all through here, so I know like kind of where the deer like to hang out.
Okay.
And I was guessing like, you know, if a deer's walking this way, it's good. Trying to guesstimate it. So I dropped a little guy off, and he like tried to follow me for like 5 minutes after I dropped him off. I don't know if he thought it was a scent or whatever, but it was cute. Like I dropped him down, he was trying to follow me to the woods, and I'm like, stop, little guy, you gotta like, it's like a movie, you know. And eventually he started putting around, and I walked probably like 50, 60 yards, tried to out of the wind. I was gonna watch him until like dusk to make sure nothing bad happened to him, to try to see the best outcome, I guess. So I just took cover, and probably like a half hour later, all of a sudden I heard crashing, and I've never heard a mother deer call a baby, and the noise is like, it sounds like something's coming to get you. It's you can't see, all you hear is crashing, and it sounds like a real like, but it's high pitched and like it echoes, it goes through you. It's weird. So she came in crashing, would stop, and just repetitive with her foot, like do, you know, stomp and make the noise, and the little baby just ducked down, and it just sat there and didn't make a noise, because that's what they're trained to do, because the mother won't draw attention, wants to draw attention away from the fawn so it can live. That's got no scent yet, or whatever you know how that works. So the mom came probably within 15, 20 yards of it at tops, and was just stomping and making the noise, and the baby was just laying down. So I'm like, oh, the mother must pick up my area, because she wouldn't. They're trained not to go to it, because if a predator's watching it, it's gonna go for the helpless little animal. So I like quietly walked back here, and about an hour and a half later, once I figured they'd meet up, I walked the woods for like a while, like where I last saw them, you know, and they were nowhere to be seen. So all I can imagine is that you know, after I left, they rejoined and they walked to wherever to, you know, do whatever they do. So they're suckling. I don't know. I'm sure I wanted milk and, you know, whatever. But they were from here to the wall. Honest to God, like it was just like it was in ferns, really high, so it was laid low, and the mom was at the edge of like a brush line and just stomping and making the noise, and she wouldn't go any closer because I think she could, you know, feel my presence. So that's when I walked away and just.
And then you went back later, and neither of them were there.
Yeah, so. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, man. It was a sad little day. See the little fucker go.